Hi, and welcome to Hub Healer. I am Darlene Soshin, co-founder of Hub Healer, your home-based hub for all of your needs, business, personal, mind, body, and soul. And today I have my friend Marie Fleming Grant, who we are interviewing, and she comes to us all the way across the pond from the UK. And today we're going to talk about when your passion, this is Marie, when your passion just is exploding inside of you and you are moving and doing and grooving until you allow that passion to find its way to express itself through you, because that is who Marie is. And I'm so excited for this interview. I found you during when the world was all shut down. And it was 2020 or 2021 when you did your summit. I don't remember which year it was,
2021.
but 2021. And that is how I first saw you. You were putting together this summit because you had this fire that had been ignited inside of you. And what I'd love for you to share is, what were you doing before that? And because we all have a story, right? And if we're older than 20 or 30 years old, we have a past career before our healing businesses. And I would love for you to share what you were doing beforehand and what it was that started to like poke you and wake you up to wanting to create that change in your life for the world. So what was Marie doing before all of that?
Yeah, well, it feels like she's this previous version of me now, it's like this old version of me. So she was a lawyer, and version of me back then was so different in some ways. So I was a lawyer, and I've been doing that for a number of years. And funny enough, I wanted to be a lawyer since I was like 13 or 14. It was very early, because I wanted to help people. So that's when my profession started. I just knew that I was here to assist people and help them with words. And the way that it came through at the time was be a lawyer. So I was doing that for a number of years. And what triggered me moving out of that career was a big plot twist of all plot twists, in the form of illness. So I got it's a very long story. I'll make it very short, but it was a very long period of accumulation. I think many healers have experienced something like this because of our empathic, open natures. So I had this kind of interesting childhood and family dynamics and experiences that had never been processed. I didn't know how to. I was soaking everything up. So it led me to be very, very burnt out. So I got kind of floored with illness. So it's ME, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, kind of a cluster of those types of illnesses. So what it meant was that it was like, now I see it was lovingly guiding me on my path. At the time, I would not have described it as that, but it was absolutely catastrophic. So I ended up having to kind of leave behind this career that I'd cultivated over so many years. So it wasn't, I'd like to say I made this like conscious choice. It wasn't for me. It was very much, it was here, and I had to listen. Before I stepped into the work I do, it was just disentangling from my old career and beliefs and ways of living. So it was a very hard, very difficult path, but I'm glad now that I walked that path, definitely.
And it's really interesting how we are led from one event to another. So in that, a couple of questions. One is, what did you learn as a lawyer that you then were able to put into place in this new found work of yours?
I think, yeah, there was a lot of transferable skills, I suppose. So it sort of equipped me to, first of all, multitask, because being a healer, an entrepreneur, a business owner, we've got to wear all the hats, right? Until we can hire the wonderful teams. And I'm not at that stage yet of hiring the teams that I envision. So it really helped me to be able to keep my fingers in all the pies and multitask a lot of different things, track my own progress, all of those tasks that you've got to do. And I guess the other one is probably my skills of relating to people. So as a lawyer, funny enough, I remember a couple of people said to me, you're not there to counsel them when I was a lawyer, because I used to give legal advice and I was very good at my job. But on the side of that, I was coaching, counseling, guiding, right? I was soaking up the emotions. I was doing those things like I guess I'd always done from a child. I know everyone listening, you will relate to that because you would have been always the healer, always that person, right? We're that way, I think, from when we're very, very small. So those two things, I think, really transferred over into kind of what I do now. Yeah.
And it's interesting because counsel is often what they do is called counsel.
Yeah, it
And
is. It is, exactly.
and so what happened? So when you weren't feeling well, what was it that motivated you to see that what you were doing wasn't healthy for you anymore?
Mm.
And what was that aha moment when you realized, oh, I need to be doing this?
Yeah, well, it wasn't so neat. So the kind of two pieces to that. The first piece was when I realized I can't keep doing it like this, was when two things. It was when my body started to give me the signs, because so far I was so resilient in my mind. We're very persevering, resilient people. So I kept going, even though my body was giving me signals and signs. And now I'd be tuned into just a headache. I'm very tuned in. Back then, I was just more coffee, more pushing through. So I didn't listen for a good couple of years, which was part of why I kind of burnt out in the way that I did. But what really stopped me in my tracks was when, one, I couldn't push through anymore with my positivity, because that had got me through probably every trauma I had ever gone through, which is why healers are so needed, right? It had got me through every single incident that ever happened just by being positive and seeing the silver lining. And when that didn't work on this illness, because of course the body won't respond to that when there's symptoms and there's physical stuff. So that was I think the key point where I probably went into panic and overwhelm and despair and depression, because what I knew didn't work. So then I was required to go a lot deeper. But that was the thing, that was the catalyst, that led me into, I've got to find an answer somewhere in a way that I've never done it before. So that was the kind of catalyst. But then, of course, I had to kind of recover and go through that. So there was a gap between that and stepping into, oh, I think I'm going to help people. So there was this whole kind of gap. And just to summarize that gap, I suppose I'd say it was like I went on my own healing journey with practitioners and programs and things, and a clinic I found, and it worked. And I started to heal and my energy came back. I was housebound, like I couldn't move. This went on for a few years. It was very severe. So I lost like everything. And I started to recover against doctors, guidance. And then I started to train in the areas, the things that helped me, because I wasn't even thinking of it as a career necessarily. I started to feel that my energy was back. So my energy is so precious. Your energy is so precious. We've got to use it on things that actually count for something and matter. And that's where the passion comes in. So I started training in these areas that I was just lit up about, thinking maybe I'll help people. I hadn't really like thought that far ahead,
What I love about your story is, if someone is listening and they're at the place where you were, that burnout, where everything feels daunting and the depression is so heavy, and they might be in a place where they're not leaving the house. This is just a beautiful story of what you chose in that moment, and it led you down this new path without you knowing what it was supposed to be. So I think that's what trips up people, whether they're healers or somebody just going through a healing crisis, is what stops them is not knowing what they should do. And your testament for just following what your instincts were telling you, following the joy, following what feels good. And when you're in that paralyzed state where you can't move and you're in so much pain, that's all you can do, is just follow what feels better.
Yeah. And that is this, I think that's one of the strengths, like the strongest bit inside that we can cultivate. And I love it because it doesn't require money, it doesn't require resources. We have it inside of us, right? We have it inside of us. So every one of us can access that. And I feel like that's the piece. Because if you can cultivate like your inner compass, your inner guidance, you know, if you can start tapping into that, because I was living a life where I was far from it, far away from it. I just got into this cycle, right, of life and success and chasing things. And when I came back to this inner compass, it was so, I guess having things stripped away taught me that I've just got to focus on now. I don't know what my energy is going to be like even later or tomorrow. I couldn't plan anything. And I had a 5-year spreadsheet for my life back then. I was a planner. I had every move I was going to make in life literally on a spreadsheet in my laptop. And then, of course, when I became ill, I had to leave all that, and very painful to wrench that away. But I started to tap into, I don't know what's happening in my life, but right now, right in this moment, what do I need? And usually it was sleep or a meditation or try and eat something, or it was very basic. But then that piece really, I think it was like a muscle.
Yes.
And then if you strengthen and develop that, it's literally how I try and live even now. And I have energy and I can do all the things. But that's so important.
Driven by the basics. We oftentimes have to go back to that. How
Yeah.
old was your daughter at the time?
She was, how old is she? Yes, that's two, she would have been about 12 or 13, because I had her very young when I was like 18. She would have been about 12 or 13, I think. So interesting age. Massive mum guilt on that, because I couldn't do the things I wanted to do with her. And I remember you know, learning on this when I was recovering myself and healing, and it was like stepping into this idea that no, I'm modeling this for her. I can't take her out, I can't do stuff. What I'm going to do instead, I'm going to model what self-care looks like. I'm going to model what it is to tend to my needs, so she sees it, because I never saw that growing up. And how many of us did? Really, most of us didn't.
Most of it did.
In our generations,
right,
didn't see it. So
that self-care, even today, it's
yeah.
still so ingrained that it's selfish.
Yeah, we feel so guilty as you know, just people, don't we? We just feel so like we're selfish and we're doing something wrong, and it's society's programming. It's so strong, and that one is a brilliant one to try, and if you can break through that and tap into that. And that's a bit of a process for some people, but it's so worth it, because it's like the foundation for everything. Because you can have the success later and things will come, but if you don't have that piece,
if you don't have your health,
what are you building on? What are you building on? Yeah, and I
Right.
learned that the hard way, because I did build success on a very, very shaky foundation.
Because your first priority was feeling better.
Yeah. So initially, like before that, I didn't have that. So I was just chasing the external. Like we see on the coaching space, the healing space, online space, everybody's like chasing the goals and the next thing, which is okay. But we've got to look at, okay, great, do those things, great. But what are you building on? What is the platform, the foundation? And I think that is so missing.
Right. That's the sturdy foundation, because if you're building on anxiety to get to 6 figures or to get to even 5 figures,
figures, right?
And if your foundation is like this and you're just following somebody else's lead or what worked for them, at any point in time that foundation could just collapse. So preparing the body and the mind and your health, I agree, it's key. And also, not so many people want to know what their purpose is and what that bigger picture is. I've had so many clients, you probably have too, who come to you, I want to know what my purpose is. Why am I here? Well, let's take a few steps back and build, go back to the basics, because once you know what makes you feel good, once you start taking care of yourself, your answers are revealed to you.
Yes.
On your own.
A tangible example of that, in case anyone needs that. So when I was recovered, my energy was back, and my first plan was, I want to go back to being a lawyer. Of course I do. I want to go back.
You did?
Yeah. Initially, my plan was recover, get the hell back into legal. And this was in 2000 and like say 2013, 14, that was my initial plan. That was my absolute laser focus. I envisioned it and everything. All right. So that was just coming from the head. And when I started to get my energy back, I actually went in and did a few months in a placement, and then started to feel, I've shifted so much. I don't know if I can fit myself in. So if I'd have at that point gone, well, what do I need to do instead? I need a replacement job right now and I need to figure that out. I would never have been able to figure that out because I still hadn't. You have to kind of take the steps, right? You have to dance the dance steps. You've got it. You can't not. So I started to tune in and go, well, what is going to bring me joy? So that's why I was like, well, training and learning and going deep into these areas that I like do now with people, like EFT and hypnotherapy and all of these things, right? I was like, if I just go deep into that, I'm just going to enjoy it. And then I figured out from there, I actually really love this. And then I started to go, I wonder if, that's crazy. But I was like, I really love this and I'm actually quite good at it. And I seem to be able to do it with people. So it was like, if I wasn't tuned in and I was so in my head, I would still at that point have been trying to map out the lawyer plan.
Yeah.
Right. So just to give anyone an idea of, if you just slow down enough, it takes courage. Just give yourself that gift. If you just slow down, tune out everybody's everything. I'm going to tell you, you've got to figure this out by Friday. Right. And just try. It's so about trust. And I know that's a big one, but we've got it. If we just trust, and my guides are always saying, if you just lean back and just imagine you're just being caught by these divine guides and love around you, you will be okay.
Right.
It's just beliefs that we think we're not going to be.
And that was my question for you. When you were transitioning and when you started to recognize being a lawyer may have contributed to this, and I would prefer to do something more healthy that felt better. What did you do? And you just answered the doubts and the beliefs that come up for people when they're transitioning into something completely new. Change can be scary. So when those doubts and beliefs start to rear their ugly heads, what would you recommend? And you were talking about first, just lay back, know everything is okay. What else would you?
To tap back into like what is important to you. And it's like I just literally close my eyes sometimes. Even now, occasionally I need to do this. I just close my eyes, tune out everything, like what matters. Like when we're quiet, we know what we came here for. And I'm going to just speak to anyone that feels like I'm still figuring that out. You're actually not figuring out. What you're doing is you're just trying to clear the layers up here, because it's already in there. You came in with this blueprint. Your soul knew before you even dropped into this life what you were going to do. The how stuff we can change and create, right? But you already know. So when I was in that place, what I tapped into was my energy that I so appreciated. I literally had none. Like lifting a cup to my, was hurt me. It was really severe. So when I had energy, I was damn well sure I was going to use my precious energy on things that actually matter. I was so like in love with this energy, and I think it's not really left me because of the experience. I want to like spread that everywhere I can. You've got this energy. Your energy is so precious. Only you have that special magic, right? Exactly. And your energy. And what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to put it?
And you had the ultimate contrast of what you didn't want.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe it's to share that message, because if I hadn't walked that path, I wouldn't be able to share that message with conviction the way that I know I can.
Right.
So I just encourage people to just tune in that you're always going to have doubts and beliefs. Have them, know that they're there. I give mine a voice. I go, what are you saying? Oh, you feel like you're not good enough and no one cares. Even now, I'm like, I still have those doubts sometimes. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then I'm like, okay, my head says this. What does my soul say? What does that part of me, call it soul, higher self, wise part, whatever you want to call, what is that part of you inside that is magic? Right? What does that part of you know?
And give that time to grow and to bloom. Because if we want to immediately know what that blueprint says, we came here with this purpose. If we want to know, we're going to miss the journey along the way that
Yeah.
helps us open up to receiving more of what we need in order to get ready to live the
Yes.
purpose. There's all of these getting ready, these preparation steps that people want to bypass.
Yeah, you can't bypass them,
No,
right?
because then it's not sustainable. So you
Yeah.
may then have a bigger image of the purpose, but you missed some steps
Yeah.
along the way, like gratitude and appreciation and self-love and the contrast. Everything that we're in a hurry to
Yeah.
skip over is going to come back.
Yeah.
And it won't be sustainable what we get to unless we take the full journey. And I think that is the purpose, is to
Yeah.
experience the full journey.
Exactly. And I just want to quickly say on that one, because I know that sometimes the mind says, yeah, but what about those people out there that seem to just don't do that? You know, we all know people online that they don't, they don't do that, but they just kind of push ahead. They do create success. What about those people? This is a question that I get asked. So I want to speak to that those of us that are here, and there is a kind of a specific group of us, and there'll be all these people tuning into this. Those of us that are here to really help with the frequencies, the shifts that this planet's going through right now, we are here to create in these higher frequencies, right? So what that means, it's great, and it's going to create maybe some resistance, but what that's calling us to do is we've got to get really good at how to do all the things we just spoke about, create in the higher frequencies, which isn't about stress, push through, force yourself, because if you try that, you may have tried that, you'll find that it just doesn't work for you. It works for your friend over there in that mastermind. It works for that person that you love online. It seems to just promote things every day, right, in different ways. It won't work for us because the reason is our souls, this is what I was told by my guides, our souls came in with almost like a mechanism that says, we are here to create in higher frequencies. So we have to set ourselves up in a way that we cannot create success for ourselves when we neglect our soul, when we're off with alignment, all these things. So there's nothing wrong with you if you're struggling right now. Like, why is my stuff not taking off? Why is it taking so long? You are here to create in higher frequencies. That's such a powerful, strong message that wants to come through, because sometimes we look at other people and wonder, why can't we do it like that? We just won't get away with it. But there's a beauty in that, because it guides us into the real work, right? The
The
real,
real work,
yeah.
right? And it's a whole other level when
Yes,
you're
it is.
working in higher frequency.
It is. It
And
is.
and
Yeah.
and healers are trying really hard, because that's a lot of the coaches out there. They're teaching this 3D
Yeah.
basic business. And if we're working from a higher frequency, that won't work.
Yeah. It's like a different room.
Yeah.
Just see it as like those people are creating success in that room, but you're not in that room.
Yeah.
You're in this room, you've got different music playing. So if you're trying to play that music and you're trying to get through that wall, it doesn't work for you. So it's like surrender into the fact that you're in this beautiful room. It's a beautiful room, but it's like the rules are different.
Right.
I see it
So
in
then what would you suggest someone can do if they don't know then which room to go into? So they're following this, they're doing that, they're trying to force themselves into alignment. What can they do so that their growth, their business, everything that they're striving for, they can find more ease in that, or they'll have a direction, somewhere to go. They'll know
Yeah, well,
which
first
room
of
to go
all,
into.
yeah, well, kind of half the battle's there. If you're already doing that and you're pushing and you're trying that room out and you know it's just not working, that's half the battle, because you've already tested it. We've got to experiment sometimes. And then, I tried that. I tried several years of that.
Yep.
So that's half the battle. You know that that's not for you. And then it's trusting that there's another way. And then once you do that, you'll start to notice the synchronicities, because you're going to start to attract in people, messages, videos, stuff like this. You're going to start tuning in because you've already made that decision. Oh, hey, this doesn't work for me anymore. I need something else. There's something else. It is not your job to figure it out, because remember, you're co-creating in the universe. So the energies are going to start rearranging. You'll suddenly see a video pop up. You'll hear a message like this. You'll tune into something else, right? Somebody will recommend a book. You'll start to walk the path. So it's really about trusting when you get that in, and not closing the doors on those things,
Right. And
because then you'll expand.
softening
Yeah.
into what is there waiting for
Yeah.
you.
Even just be
It's
curious. Even if you can just be
yes.
curious, just open the door of curiosity and go, I'm not sure if I fully believe in all this stuff, but I'm curious and I'm going to hear what people are talking about
Yeah.
and see how it feels.
So shifting, this is a great concept. Shifting from frustration into curiosity. What
Yes.
else is
Yeah.
possible for me in my business?
Yeah. Because I still do that now, even after years, right? So I've got a lot of things set in my business that I'm happy with now. But I know that in 2 years' time, in 6 months' time, there'll be another evolution of things. So there'll be more change. So we're not trying to get to a fixed place. So if you can embrace that from whatever stage you're on, early the better, um, whether you're even more advanced, wherever you are on this spectrum, you can embrace that. It's going to help you massively, massively.
Opening up to the fact that nothing stays the same, that
Yeah.
we're always going to be asked to level up.
Yes. So don't spend so long on the website, because the you next year will probably have, and take that from my own experience, because I spent a lot of time in the early days doing the
And
logo,
money.
never used again.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. I didn't even have my message sorted and I was doing a logo, right? So you'll go, and all that stuff's great, but we've got to focus on the important bits. So you're going to change and shift.
I love this. So back again, we're going full circle. First, build the foundation of your fortitude, your health, your curiosity, your willingness to receive and see information that you may not consider as business oriented. Like
Yeah.
you said, an interview might pass through your observation, or a book shows up. All of these little synchronicities make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So it's also about opening, not just opening up to receiving, but opening up your mind to what can be a supportive message or direction to go in. It might not be so obvious.
Yeah. Totally. Totally.
So here's one of the last questions that I would like to ask you. So once you did start building more of an idea of what you wanted to create, you started working in the healing modalities and recognized your connection to them and your true fascination by them, then your passion started to erupt. That's when I met you, when you were in that place where I now have this burning passion that is coming out of me no matter how it does. I wanted you to share a little bit about how we sort of have to contain the compassion to really understand it, right? Because if it's out there, before we can rein it in, we really have to get clear what it is and what we want to do with the energy and the passion. So if you can talk a little bit about, once you had the idea of what you wanted to do, and this is always changing for you, but once you had that initial idea, you realized, oh, I need to start creating a bigger following. What was it that you were led to that you then started to create at
Yeah.
the
Well, that was
top of
kind
the
of
foundation?
early. Yeah. So early on, when I'd done my training, and I kind of knew at that time the version of I wanted to assist people and guide and help them at the time. So I was like just dabbling in like the name and the website and stuff. And then what came through, which surprised me, was a little whisper, a little nudge saying, got to do videos. And at that time, so I'll just say, because you don't know me from that time, but back in like 2015, I was like, that is an insane thought. That doesn't make any sense. I wasn't even online at that time yet. So I was starting to think about, oh, I need a website and I think I need to do all that. So a little nudge came in and that took me by surprise. But because I'd already walked the path of listening, like really listening, I paid attention and I thought that is so strange, because that terrifies me. The idea, even a photograph. So I was like, I think I need to be online. So I felt the nudge. And so I had a hypnotherapy session with a partner to get over my fear of setting up a Facebook profile and putting a photo of me on there. I was petrified of even that. So I took that step, and then I got the nudge of videos, and I was thinking, I'm not sure, that is terrifying. And then, of course, somebody on Facebook then said, oh, I've got a free 5-day visibility challenge to help people who are terrified of videos. So that's what the universe, the universe will arrange. And I stepped into that, and the rule was just make a video, one click, no edits. It was great because I didn't know how to edit. And I put these videos in the group, very private group. And at the end, she encouraged you to put a video out there on your platform. So that was absolutely horrendous for me because I can tell you, I was literally like palms sweating, palpitations. It was not pleasant for me, right? So a little quick aside there, aligned isn't always comfortable.
Thank you.
Right?
That is
That's a big
important.
one.
Yes.
Huge one. Because we make that mistake. Oh, if it's aligned, I'm going to feel joyous.
Feel better.
Maybe. There was a joy that came when I did a video and I put it out there, and there was this like outlet, because my soul is here to do that. So I did feel a bit of a rush going, oh, that does feel good, but it was very uncomfortable. I spent 3 hours making a 3-minute video in 2016. And eventually, just over time, I just practiced, and it just started to pull me. So the visibility thing for me was a very big theme, because it was like, if you've got a message, you've got to be seen. It's no good just telling your mum and your cat, you've got to be seen. I was like, oh, damn it. And I was even like, is there any way I can do this mission, this soul work behind the scenes? And it became apparent that it wasn't. And I didn't know myself as a channel back then. So this was very pre me even knowing anything about channeling. That came later. And so that's what was kind of guiding me. So this whole visibility thing, it was not so much for me, oh, I want to create an audience. I actually didn't. But I was working on my inner growth around being seen, being visible. And literally over a few years, I got more comfortable. Took me a few years where I could until I could press click and actually feel okay. Right. So just on that one, because I know a lot of people get scared of that, because we do have to grow an audience. We do have to grow, not in a deliberate way, but I think just let it be organic.
Absolutely.
That's how I've always done it.
And I think the key to our whole interview is alignment is not always comfortable, and it doesn't always feel good. But once you have that foundation built and you're tapping into yourself and your own knowing, even though it's uncomfortable, you will know and feel what it is you must do.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between alignment with discomfort and alignment because it feels good. Both of them are extremely important. And I know we hear a lot out there about alignment should feel airy and fairy. Alignment sometimes is getting you to face your biggest fears so that you can move through them and clear them and analyze them with purity, with open mind, once you have that foundation built.
Yeah, because you've got to have, where is your alignment going otherwise? Right. So it's like we've got foundation, and then we've got the alignment. Where is this sitting on here? So yeah, and alignment, when you think about alignment, because we have this false idea of alignment is flow and it's ease and it's joy. It's like, maybe once you've gone through some of the other bits, it's wonderful. But let's say if you're going to get into alignment, let's say, it's a line, right? You're going to crack that line into place. If there's a big piece there, ouch, you're going to have to. Mine was visibility, right? It was probably one of my biggest, top 2 or 3, right? Visibility. So that was kind of a painful but funny and colorful journey, though. It was like uncomfortable, though. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So did you find in your journey, as you were moving through, you were training in different modalities. Did you find it helpful to have a mentor supporting you along the way? Or were you using your guidance and your inner knowing?
Yeah, at different points. I definitely did. I had periods where I worked with people, and I had periods where I didn't. I've seen a few messages online where it sort of says, if you're a healer or a coach or a therapist or anyone, you must be in a container with someone. I don't agree, because otherwise how are you going to have the breathing room if you always need to be in a mentorship or a under guidance of someone continuously? And I mean, like when you're doing that one-to-one, like, you know, and that's my job, I do with people. So I'm talking about my own services, right? I don't want to work with people so that they need to work with me forever, right? It's like, so I think there's know your season, whether this is a time where you really, like, that feels good, right? Know your season. Do you really, could you really value somebody else's eyes right now and energy to assist you? Because
Right.
there are times when we cannot carry that, and we can do it, but if we've got time and resources to invest, whether it's free or paid or whatever, and you need that, get that, allow that. But there are times when you need to go it alone, and you're actually, the most powerful thing is to not listen to a single person, tune into yourself, maybe tap into maybe what, if you want to get advice on something. But yeah, don't be fooled into thinking, so I see a lot of people talking about that, always annoys me a bit. You don't always need to be in the coaching container to be
Love
up
it.
leveling your life, because it's not
I
that way.
love it.
So trust yourself, like ask yourself, is it fear that you just want to grab? Because sometimes we invest in fear, like fear of missing out. We invest in this program, this thing, scarcity, and then we feel like we need it. But actually, if you step back, and I recommend you don't make decisions on investing until you've actually taken a breath. And I like this thing. I did a message on it, I think a few months ago, and it was something like, instead of fear of missing out, the joy of leaning in, or the joy of stepping in. Like, switch it over. Does it feel good
That's
to lean in?
that's beautiful. Or does it feel better to take a break and a breather and move
Yeah.
into your own space, create your own container? Yeah.
Yeah, because
I love
maybe
that.
you've not integrated the previous thing you learned from the last mentor or coach or guide, and you're still getting into their ways. And
Yes.
people, it's like relationships. You know, if you go from one to another, it's not a judgment thing. But if you're doing that one to another and you never have a moment to just figure out who you are, that's challenging. So we do that sometimes in the coaching kind of therapy world, where we're in that space all the time. So yeah, don't kind of give in to those pressures. Like, really tune in, because I've had lots
Mhm.
of periods where, more often than not, because I haven't been able to invest, especially earlier, like I wasn't able to invest. I invested a lot in my health and some business things at the beginning, which I wouldn't recommend because it was too early for that. And then I had periods where I didn't invest anything, and then when I did, it helped me expand. So kind of on and off with gaps,
I
because
love
I
it.
love working on myself. So, I'll, tune into when the time, like right now, I'm not working with anybody, because right now I'm very connected to my mission, my guides, and I'm in this sort of transition. It's eclipse season currently as we're recording, right? So I'm letting things come up, and I wouldn't, it would be very restrictive right now for me personally if I was to then step into working with someone from this energy, because I don't need a problem solved right now. I just need
Oh.
to breathe.
So as for my last question for you, what is a recommendation you can give someone? Which season, or how can they tell which energy they're in? Are they in, if they're in desperation,
Yeah.
or is it time for them to go in? How can you tell the difference?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess the first thing, always take a breath, get yourself into a space. Like, you might want to make a bit of a ceremony, like spend an hour or two on this or whatever, and just take a breath and get yourself into quiet and take some breaths and tune into, first of all, how are you feeling? Go with your emotion first, because this up here has a lot of ideas, right? Creatives, ambitious,
Constant.
continuous ideas, right? I think we all relate to that. And that will just lead you everywhere. So just tune in first. How are you feeling? What is your energy doing? So that's kind of just thinking like how I do it. Yeah, I kind of tune in, like, am I more energized or am I more depleted? Right? That's
Mm,
probably a good one, because that's
perfect.
going to determine, well, if you're more energized, let's run through it very quickly. If you're more energized and you feel you've got energy, that means you've probably got more capacity for clients and creative projects, whatever. and then you want to figure some stuff out and then you're a bit stuck there, yeah, that would probably be a good idea. If you really can't figure it out, get help with that, and then you can invest something that will assist you on the pieces that you need, for example. That would be great. Or you can just tune in and figure that stuff out yourself. You will know if you can do that. Let's say you're feeling more depleted though, and more emotional, and more, you're in a season of a lot of stuff is happening to you right now, then you can still tune in, because it might be that you just need some space for you, just, and you got to ride this period out. Like, it might be that investing in someone to help you will help you, but it might also be that it's not really that you need, because you can kind of coach yourself. You kind of know how to do it. A lot of us do. You may want to, like, a helping hand, but sometimes you just got to understand, oh, this is a tricky period and I need to navigate this, and when I'm through this, maybe there'll be a time for a different season. But you know, you can invest or not in any of those seasons, but it's just about, like, let's say you're depleted and you're going through a lot of emotional stuff, which a lot of us have gone through over the last year. A lot of stuff has been coming up, right? I've definitely felt it. I know we've all felt it in different ways. So that's not the time, maybe, let's say, to invest in something like how to build a program and how to, I don't know, like, hit 6 figures or market this, right? It's a different energy.
Right.
If you're going to invest, you'd probably want to invest in something to do with your emotions and your energy in that energy,
Beautiful.
right? So it's just sort of kind of common sense, but from a kind of sort of body-based place. To get back into your breath and your body, and you'll find you can answer that question of which season you're in from a more calm place. Like, don't try and answer that when you've just had 3 cups of coffee and you've just been scrolling through Facebook and you've seen everybody's everything.
Right.
You're gonna have a lot of different ideas. I've done that myself.
Set the tone. I love the idea of creating ceremony to really measure and gauge where your energy is and what it's asking of you. Beautiful.
Call a meeting with yourself. I do this. It doesn't matter if you don't have team members. I do this frequently. Team meeting. It's myself, my soul, my higher self, my guides.
Yep.
Have a meeting, and we're going to just see where I'm at and what's needed, and then we take it from there. And I think that is a really powerful, like, whatever level you're at.
Beautiful. Yes. Constantly. Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone was interested in reaching out to you and finding out more about what you do and you offer, where can you lead them to?
Yes, so I am on Facebook, basically main platform Facebook, and more on Instagram now. So I don't know if you'll have links or anything, or do you want me to?
We will be putting links.
Yeah, so yeah, I've got my 2 pages on business page, personal profile. You can connect to either of those on Facebook, have my Instagram, and I'm on YouTube because I just kind of put videos and things on there. But I also have a book just on the subjects that we spoke about. That probably, I've got it here somewhere. That's probably a good one if anybody wants to just have a read.
Yes.
Above and Beyond. So it's a human journey of courage, resilience, transformation, magic, and awakening. It's a true story, but it's got a lot in it, because it sort of takes you through the journey of hardship, crazy life, through healing, through what we talked about today, like stepping out of that old world and then finding your purpose and then being activated into that. And there's a whole journey. So that might be a good thing for anyone that feels like they want to read.
On Amazon.
Yeah, on Amazon. Yeah, you can just get that on Kindle or paperback. Yeah, so just connect with me anywhere on any platforms. Drop me messages, ask me questions. I love questions because I'm always creating content and just trying to assist people really on their missions and life in general. So yeah, you can find me on those.
You're wonderful at it. So thank you, Marie Fleming Grant. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I hope that all of you listening have taken away some wonderful recommendations and the words of wisdom that Marie had to offer today. And join us again in our next interview. And thank you so much for listening and following along.